So here we are. That's a lot of change. So at this point, we have all the 3 main walls in place. We have the front wall framed already, and that's already screwed to the right position. This is firm to the right position. You can see it moves everything together because it's tight. And now we need to cover these walls, insulate the wall, cover the other side, and build the ceiling. So I'm gonna start with the ceiling. That's the trickiest challenge for sure on the entire build. Let's get started.
Well, if you're new to our channel, you might not know that while Metal Boat DR builds the hull of our new boat, we will be converting a cargo van into our home on wheels to live on it while we finish the building of our boat ourselves.
But first, we're gonna build our tiny insulated / heated winter workshop. So now that the long beams are all cut to length, I just had an idea. The original idea was to build the big box, the module, and just slide on the top of the walls. But that's way too heavy for one person to do that. So I came up with an idea of first just putting the plywood up there, screwing the plywood all around, then lifting the frame, putting in place, screwing the frame, and then putting insulation and doing the second plywood. The problem on that is that it's gonna be really tricky to screw the plywood to the frame where there is the wall. I cannot screw from the bottom. I feel like I should screw here also. So I thought I can put the plywood, I can put the frame, I can slide everything to the side, screw here, slide back in place. But in order to do that, I need somehow to support from the bottom. I don't know how to explain. I'm gonna build, you're gonna see it. It's gonna make sense. So I can support from the bottom without needing to, be holding or have someone holding. Check this out. I have a third person now. I'm really, really excited with the result. I think it's just like spare pieces that I can just take apart and use later. So now it's time to start building frames to put on the top. So I need to take these temporary supports because now the plywood needs more space. The tricky part comes now. Until here I'm fine because I could technically just go underneath, screw from the bottom. So now is the tricky moment. So I already screw the center of the plywood, but this part on the top of the wall I cannot screw from here, from the bottom. So I want to slide the whole panel to one side, support with this. That's the reason why we built this. And then I can screw. So now that I managed to do one side, I need to slide back to the wall. My brain is just not working properly. Roberta gave the perfect idea. I don't need to move both sides. When I move this way, I can go around and just do from the outside. I'm just so stupid. That's so much easier now. And less risky, actually. Now, next step. Put this way, and then I can screw the left side, and then we can put in place and screw in place. So now that the bottom plywood is already screwed to the frame fully, it's time to, put in the right position, and then we can screw this whole thing to the walls right here. So this end of the plywood, if I screw, it's just on the wall, and in this way we can literally hold all the walls together using the ceiling. Let's try to put this in place, but first there's something that I'm really curious. Do you think this is gonna hold my weight? Get it. So that sounds like a really big victory to me. I managed to install the first ceiling panel. That's like, I've been worried about that for like literally 2 weeks. And somehow it's here, even though these ones are not, I'm not going to be able to disassemble them and take them to the next location with the insulation inside and everything ready. I'll need to disassemble the whole thing, but it is what it is. I think it would be too dangerous for me to put the panel ready up by myself. So It's better to play safe. Here also I'm gonna have the tongue and groove to make sure it's sealed and there is no gap in between the panels. But now I need to start working on the next panels because I cannot stop. We need to finish this quickly. I'm just trying to figure out the next panel already, do some measurements. But now I want to show you something really cool. Let me go down this place first. I found a shortcut. Yeah, and I didn't think this would be useful. And that's actually really useful. So you just come here and then you jump. Yeah. Take a look at the workshop for the first time with full ceiling. That's so cool. Check this out. That's what's gonna feel like. Feels like small, but it's pretty big actually. That's awesome. Let's keep moving. One more ceiling panel done. Now I just need to do the last one. The plywood's already there. I'm gonna build the frame, then I can put the frame in place, and after the frame is in place I can screw in place, and then I can put the insulation and I can screw the next panel, and we will be done for the ceiling. If Roberta was here, she would say, finally!
Or should I say, enfin! As you guys know, 6 months ago we moved to this little town in France to build our new sailboat. So we are learning French ever since to make life easier. And for that we need to thank the sponsor for this video, BRoll. BRoll is one of the top language learning apps in the whole world. Bien.
Je sais, tu sais, il, elle, on sait.
Nous savons.
Nous savons jouer de la guitare. Est-ce que vous savez où est Marie?
Je ne sais pas faire du vélo.
What I really like about BRoll is that they use real-life situations designed by real language teachers, and they also have 20 days money-back guaranteed. That's pretty cool. You're gonna see throughout this episode that to live in a small town in France, you need to learn the language, otherwise life is too complicated.
2,50 ou 1,22 m?
I think learning a new language is always fun. How about you? Have you thought about learning a new language? To have fun, to travel, maybe to move to another country as we did? So tell me on the comment below about your plans and which language you would like to learn. Clicking on the link in the description, you get 60% off your subscription and you can start today. So now let's see what's next for Duca.
Yeah, I finally finished the ceiling. The roof ceiling, I don't know what you consider this. It's a roof ceiling, there is both things. Bottom ceiling, top roof. Yeah, that's done. That was the trickiest part. Now all I need to do is to do the wall right there, and the doors, and the electrical, and probably a table inside, a assembly table. But that's not today. For today I'm done. The one thing I think that I didn't mention that I think might help someone in the future, one little thing that I always think about when I screw the plywood down, it's always to do on the right order of screws, otherwise you might end up with a belly. So what I do is I always start somewhere in the center and make my way to the edges. In this way, if the plywood's not stretched, but when it gets straight, it's gonna have space enough to go forward, otherwise it's just locked in place. If I do the edges, then there's no way to expand the plywood. So in this way, I try to get as flat as possible. Even more when the plywood is like this one that's just all warped, so it's important to think about the order of screws. I don't know, just thought I would share that because maybe it will help someone, because a long time ago when I just started using plywood I never thought about that, and sometimes I would just end up with like a belly in the middle because I just screwed the sides first. I'm gonna go down to show you. Right, let's see inside how it looks now with the whole ceiling in place. Just come on. This is the workshop. The view. That's pretty cool. The one funny thing is that this is really low, but it's high enough to work inside. But every time I come in, I always put my head down thinking I'm gonna hit my head, but I'm like, no. See you guys tomorrow. Good morning. It's pretty chilly today. Seems like the winter is coming back. Luckily the workshop is almost ready. Giving 5 minutes to organize things, and I'm gonna clap my finger and I'm gonna make a decision on what I'm gonna do today. Decisions made. I'm gonna start by this wall. So I'm gonna get the plywood, cut to length and to width. And I can do the same on the outside. And then I can put insulation. That's it. Last wall. That's so awesome. I apply some Sika on the top. And the reason for that is because the plywood on the outside face is sticking out a little bit. That means there is a little gap that if it rains, the rain could make in between the walls. So I just apply some Sika just to guarantee it's sealed, and that's gonna be fine. And then I'll probably have a trim on the top so it won't make any difference, but you know, just as a guarantee. Now that we have a properly walled, is that a word? Workshop, everything is closed. All I need to do to enclose the whole thing is to create 2 doors. This will be the bottom of the doors, so each door would be this wide, right here, and I have enough space for them to open. I think that's a good plan. I think we have 2 doors. The time has come. We have doors, we just don't have them attached to the hinge yet. I think my assistant is cold.
I was editing at home.
At home, really far, right there. Yeah, the commute to work here is just outside. I always say I'm gonna go for my commute now. It's like 10 steps and you're on the build side. Yeah, so now I need to mark. We need to find a shim to put on the bottom. Chain of plans. We are gonna put the plywood in front first because we need to have the same depth in between the door and the wall, so they need to be flush with each other. And in order to be flush, that means I need that has a plywood. This one needs also to have a plywood. So yeah, let's cut some plywood and screw to the frame and see what happens. So I have my mark where the hinge is gonna be. One here, the other one here, and the other one here. So I'm gonna take the door down and try to carve the niche for the hinge. It's getting a little bit too dark to see, so I think I need to call up the day. I managed to do just the first slot here. It takes a lot of time to do that, so I was trying to avoid doing a jig to do with the router, but I think it might be worth the time. I was like, no, it's gonna take too long to create a jig and to this and that, but I think if I create the jig, it might be faster in the end of, even with the time to build the jig, it might become faster, and also it's gonna look better than, you know, this. This is not bad with what I have, it's just like a blade, but at the same time, with a router, I think it's gonna be even better. By tomorrow, we're gonna have 2 doors. That's the goal for tomorrow. Good morning. Now, I'm gonna build a jig. So I decided to take out the router and some scrap piece of wood, and I'm gonna trim them to length and try to build a jig. I think it's gonna make life a lot easier. So the jig is ready. Of course, after half an hour of work, I realize for the jig I'm building, I need the roller to be on the bottom and not on the top. Otherwise, this is not gonna work. I guess I'll need to go out and try to find on local shops. Let's go out then. 2 hours later, I didn't find the bit I wanted, so this is the one I have with the bearing on the tip. I need one with the bearing on the top, like on this part. And they store here, they don't have it, so I end up buying just a straight bit. I don't know if you can see. Ooh, ooh. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try. So that's the jig we created. So now I just need to locate in place. I'm gonna show you on the door. So for example, to replicate that, I'll just slide this in position, route, And in this way it's gonna limit this distance and also this distance. I'm gonna show you on a scrap piece just because I wanna try on a scrap piece first and then in real life. Just need to put the center line of the jig with the center line of the piece.
So
The way it is gonna be here, imagine that this hinge is here and that's the door, and then the door is this way. Finally, yeah, after a few tests, I finally got to the right depth of cut. Now it's perfect. That's like the door is gonna be. So now, what do you think? It's gonna fit?
hope so.
Nothing on this is square, nothing is aligned, like everything's out of square. So if we can manage to have a final workshop later that works, it's almost a miracle, let's put it this way. We try to save money on the wood, terrible mistake. We try to save money on the plywood, another terrible mistake. But it is what it is. I have all the holes for the hinge. I have my helper here for a few minutes.
Back.
And let's try to do this. Yes. So it's touching somewhere. When it comes here, it touches. Two options. I take this down and I trim with the track saw. That's probably the right thing to do. But I'm gonna try to do the wrong thing first and see if it works. 40 grit sandpaper, really thick sandpaper, and let's see if I can just sand on the bottom and make enough clearance for it to go down. Now I'm really happy. Check this out. Really light. Opens all the way. The main door is going to be that one, so that means we need to create another one there now.
Good morning. Let's see if Duca was able to fix the door yesterday. He said he did, but I just believe seeing it. Bonjour. Is the door working?
Good, now it's not hitting the bottom. I think actually maybe before I do the frame I'm gonna do this piece of plywood. So now the idea is to try to measure the overlap of the plywood on the bottom of that door. Repeat here, do one side flush, the other side long, roughly put in place, and then we trim this side.
So here is the problem. We have this gap here and no gap here.
Nothing is straight on this view. Ooh, it fits. That's perfect. That's good enough. Yeah, I guess Roberta was right. Actually, the jig needs to be on this position, and with the door the way it is, it's going to be really tricky to put in place because I didn't trim the end yet. I think the solution is to raise the door with some blocks on the bottom, and when the door is raised, I can screw the jig in place just to guarantee it won't move when I trim, so I can route the excess, and the space is going to be exactly for the hinge I have because that's what I built the jig for. And then I just need to do that another 2 times on the door and 3 times on the wall itself, and it's finally time to assemble the door. If everything went right, of course. I don't know if I properly explained that on the other door, but you know the round edges, the round corners that I have when you do the routing, you should get the chisel and just square that off. The reason I'm not doing that is because I oversize a little bit this space, in order to have a little bit play, because nothing is square on this build, so it would make my life easier. So the trick now is always to put this in place. So you see, there's a little bit of a play on this direction and also on this direction. So now the way I center that is by getting the corners, the center of the round corners, and putting down and trying to get this flush or a little bit open, just like a tiny bit, and then I screw in place. And also I'm using a hammer just to do a little mark to try to center as best as possible the screw in the center of the hinge, to make sure when I screw it doesn't move. All of this I'm saying for 90% of everyone that's watching is just like, well, of course, Duca, that's stupid, of course you should do that, of course you should do that before. For me, it's just I'm learning, so everything I have doubts, someone might help. And if 10% of the people that watch the videos learn something from it, I'm really happy. So I think it's important for me to share these little tiny things that I, with time, you know, start doing. And then, of course, 6-7 years ago when we started this channel, I didn't even know how to hold, I don't know, a saw, a jigsaw or whatever. I didn't know how to do anything. So I think it's important to try to think always about the learning process. Some of you might be thinking that putting all this effort on a workshop that's temporary is a waste of time. We should be building the van already. To be honest, the van is a step-up project to build the main project, that's the boat. The boat is always the main project. That needs to be clear. The boat is the goal, and the van is a really good way to get the skills to build a good boat. But also, what you don't think is that building this twisted, crooked workshop is also a really good way of learning skills to build the van. So it's like a little ladder, it's like babe steps. And it's amazing. I feel really good when I see something that, like, you know, you do 3 times the same thing and you already get better and you know how to do better. The trim of this router now with the jig, it's just so much better. That door is kind of okay. This one, the trims are getting, like, you know, really well trimmed. And that is because it takes time to learn things. You do 1 time, 2 times, make 1 mistake, 2 mistakes, you fix the mistakes and you get better. And by the time we go to the van, we already know much better how to do these little things. And when we go to the boat, we know even more. So to be honest, I don't think the workshop is a waste of time and money. It's just like a really good school in order to grow our skills to build something great. This is not great. This is just, you know, a step up. But I'm really excited now. So the next step is I'm going to screw the whole door first, just 1 screw in each one of those, and then we put in place, and I put 1 screw in each one here just to put in place and check the alignment, and then we can trim the excess plywood on the inside part of the door. These 2 here, this on the other side. So by the way, this is something that everyone knows, everyone used it before, but I never had one, I never tried one. So this is a chalk line, so I can mark a straight line from one end to the other end of the plywood, and that's gonna make life a lot easier instead of measuring rulers and everything.
And that's it. We have a line.
And that's the first final door. I can tell already it's a lot heavier. That's good news. Put this out, this close, and then close perfectly. Yeah, as you can tell, there is a small gap here. We are gonna have a trim here. So this is for the cold air not to go inside when we don't need, when we want to keep it warm inside. But before I call up the day, there is one more thing I need to do, and that's really, I always do that. I'm gonna call Roberta. She's on the house right there. I need to tell her to look at the window and see this beautiful workshop closed. So we have a door now. Yeah, 2 doors. Proud. That's good. I just need to make the boss proud. I need to say, hey boss, I'm working, I'm not just listening to music and books, audiobooks and stuff. I'm coming home soon. I'm just gonna clean up and I'll be right home. Love ya. Today the goal is at least to finish all the wood parts of this workshop. Check this out. Yeah, we have a door. That's just awesome. Yeah, so the idea today is to take this door down. I put insulation inside. I install the last panel. I screw in place. I trim the panel. I think I'm gonna play safe. I'm gonna call Roberta just to help me to hold in place the door, just to hold. When the door is complete, like all the plywoods and the insulation is pretty heavy. Hello. She's coming.
I'm so comfy inside the house.
Here's awesome. Good morning. This cut is straight, but then it's overhanging here and not on the tip. This frame is bent.
Trim with the router?
Where is this mark? I can do it with the router. Thank you. Someone thinks. Histoire qu'il y ait des travaux. Quant à plaquer pour la camion, c'est
3 mètres sur 1 mètre 20.
2 mètres 50 pour 1 mètre de 22. Très facile.
Ah oui, pour le passage. Ouais, c'est bien. Bon courage.
Merci. Let's check if this works. Not yet. She's so smart. I don't know why I'm the one doing this, but she should be the one doing that.
I'm the brain.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet. There is one more thing we need to do. We need to cover this hole here with a trim. And on the back, we also need to do the trim here around the door. And then the same thing on the back. The idea is to have this end of the door flush with that wall. And as there we have a plywood, we need that plywood here also. So now I'm just gonna put like this little trim of plywood here. By the way, the reason why I'm using so many screws is because this plywood is so bent everywhere, and everywhere I have a big gap without screw, it gets like a belly, and then humidity can go inside, dust can go inside, so that's, I mean, if I had a good plywood, I would probably use a lot less screws, but you know, living and learning.
So the idea is, today we do all these finishings, and tomorrow is gonna be painting day because the humidity is gonna be perfect for painting.
Yeah,
And
so
it's the last step for this part.
not the last step.
For this part. And
And
the electrical part.
Yeah, there is the electrical. By the way, where are the wires, the new wires? Landlord, is that how we call? The owners of the Airbnb that we are building this shed just came today and spoke in French to me, and I'm learning my French, and it's hard to communicate, but he gave us some spare things that he had for the shed. So, electrical connectors, wire. Yeah, that's really, really kind. So, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you letting us do that, and also helping us with material. That's just mind-blowing. Sometimes human beings are just awesome. They're really awesome. One more mistake for today. Sometimes happens. So I forgot that the outside panel is longer than the inside panel, and this is measured for the inside panel. So that means now I have all these little holes already. I was all organized. I have like different lines, so the screws are zigzag, so I can, you know, have a better bound. That happened. Yeah, I need to cut another one. I'm gonna do later. I'm gonna do the rest that I have cut already, and then I'll do this one. You know, happens. So the reason why I create this tongue and groove is because it's gonna make harder for the code to get in the workshop. So if this is in place, in order for the air to go in, it needs to do like a zigzag. So on the main door that we are gonna use every day, this trim is on the outside, and on the secondary door that we open when we have bigger material to get in, it's here. And also on the inside, as a normal door, I create this frame around, all the way. So that means it's gonna make harder also for the coat to get in and for the heat to get out. And now all I need to do is to create a trim on the top. I want to put one piece of plywood all the way crossing the top, so this is gonna look a little bit better. I need to take those reinforcements. I don't know if you see here, there's these little things that I put. It's not necessary anymore. This was just hold the walls together while the ceiling wasn't in place, so I can take this one out. And also I'm thinking about doing a trim all the way along this edge and also along this edge. And the reason for that is because if there is any gap, like here there is a tiny little gap, I can put Sikaflex in between, silicone, not polyurethane, to be easier to take out later, and then it's gonna seal much better. I think it's gonna be worth. And I want to do that before I paint, so I paint all on the top. And now I'm gonna work on the outside trim, and then I'm gonna work on these trims. I'm really happy if I finish all the woodwork today, plus the little ramp. That means tomorrow is just painting day. I managed to get a little bit more progress. I decided to go an extra mile. I'm gonna do all the walls to look all the same. Once I paint this, it's gonna look much better if all the trims are the same. I need a way of bringing the table saw easier inside, so this is gonna be a ramp. In order to do that, I'm gonna screw this wood here, and I'm gonna cut a angle on this side so I can screw the ramp to this. So I screw this here, and then yeah, I think that's it. Let's repeat this. So now that I have this wood already screwed in place, I can see if the ramp is actually on the right angle, and then I can try to cut the next one. That's just perfect. This is a little bit wobbly, so I want to put a second piece of trim on the bottom. I think it's really good. I want to paint the bottom of this plywood, and I also want to paint this wood before I screw in place. So I think for today we can call up the day. I'm gonna just finish screwing these trims on the inside. It's too dark to film. There is nothing much to show, it's just screwing screws. So we see you tomorrow when I'm finally gonna paint this whole workshop. That's gonna be just awesome, can't wait. See you tomorrow.